Hello and welcome to Enlisted2Entrepreneur Challenge 2201, Day 5, Command and Signals. Congratulations, we're at the end of the week. Start the show. All right, slideshow is started. And we're just gonna give everyone a couple of minutes to get in. I'm gonna copy the Zoom invitation link and drop it into Facebook. All right, so the Zoom link is in the Facebook comments. So if you are joining on Facebook and you can join us on Zoom, click the link so you can interact and do Q&A. So with that, I just wanted to thank everyone who joined this challenge. And thank you guys for an amazing opportunity to change so many veterans' lives. We almost at 500 in the group. So you can see there's some favorable comments, great feedback from everyone who joined, and the ability to give veterans clarity on how to move forward in their business, whether they're just starting or whether they're a seasoned entrepreneur. Looks like everybody found some value. Without you guys, it wouldn't have been possible. Once again, if you like the content, if you enjoyed your time here, please participate not only inside of our group, but also in other veteran groups. Just spread the word, post your review, your honest opinion, invite other people. And this is how we grow. This is how we spread the wealth around and lift each other up. So I think that's very important. I didn't see any homework submissions for day 4, so unfortunately we can't go through anybody's homework submission at this time. But I have a special treat. I actually have another speaker lined up for today. A guest speaker. We mentioned his brand on day 1, and today he was able to join us. So for those who stuck around until the end of the week and didn't skip, you're in for a treat. So you're just gonna hear a pretty cool story, in my opinion. So Rishi, as soon as you're ready, you can unmute yourself, and if you want me to make you host, I can make you host. If not, you can just talk from.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's try and get the video going here. All right. Oh man, that's a lot of people. Okay, so yeah, thanks for having me on, first of all. I started my brand back in 2020 when everyone was sitting at home, including myself, and I had nothing to do. So I decided, why not start up a business?
Sorry, maybe because we're all veterans here, maybe just start giving like a 1-minute overview of your military career, just so we make the connection from where you're coming from.
Oh,
because
yeah,
I think that's important.
Okay, yeah. I was a vehicle tech for about 7 years. I joined in end of 2014 and I got out end of 2021. I'm from Edmonton. I spent a few years in Borden. various other bases in Ontario. Then I was posted back here in Edmonton, and I spent the last 3 years of my military career at CFE Edmonton until I got out. That's basically it. I mean, I didn't really do anything worth mentioning with my career, to be honest. I don't have any tours or anything like that. But yeah, that's my career in a nutshell in the military.
No, man, that's cool. So yeah, thank you for sharing. And then I guess you started while you were still still serving and kind of stuck during the stay-at-home orders in 2020, right? So you started very recently, just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't know I was going to be at home for 6 months, but you know, I think at around the 1 or 2 month mark, I knew I was going to be at home for a significant amount of time, and I decided if I didn't do anything with all this free time, I would always be disappointed with myself. So yeah, I decided to finally start my brand, Fire Moto Apparel, and 2 years later, you know, I've quit my job a year ago. I'm running this full time now, and I'm now looking to get my product into local dealerships, motorcycle gear stores, um, and also stores overseas in the US.
No, I think that's amazing. In such a short period of time, just a couple of years, you're able to achieve financial freedom, and you have plans to grow even further. And I'm sure you've done some cool stuff with the motorcycles and all the stunts and everything that it allowed you to do, and the people you got to meet, and the influencers and riders. I bet it's really a thrill, you know. But maybe for the guys on this call, like maybe just take them through the steps how you started from sitting on that couch, and instead of watching Netflix for 6 months, you decided to do something different, and then where did it lead you to?
I've always liked motorcycles and cars, and I've always been into photography, and I've always known that I wanted to run a business of my own. Like I always knew that working a job wasn't for me. So I kind of put all of those things together, and I started up a clothing brand. So at first I was using a service. I'm still using them for some of my products. Service called Printful. It's a print on demand service where you can make clothing and other items, and all you do is you upload your designs, and they set up their app on your store for you. And when someone places an order, they will basically print the t-shirt for you, ship it out to your customer for a fee, a percentage of your profit, and then you get to keep the difference. And that's basically the business model that I started with. My main form of advertising was Instagram. I would spend just hours and hours, probably 14, 15 hours a day on Instagram, just marketing my brand, finding potential customers, sliding into their DMs, introducing myself. And that's just what I did for the first year and a half. And I grew from basically 0 followers to I think 2,000 or 3,000 followers in my first year. And I started to see my first sales, and I made a few $100s to even $1,000 a month in revenue, and that was a huge deal for me at the time. And that told me that this was worth sticking to. I couldn't give up on this, so I kept going. And then I introduced my armored hoodies, and as soon as I did that, it just took off. Like I saw orders that the amount of orders and revenue that I saw, I could have only imagined at that time. And at that point, I decided it was time to run paid advertising. So I jumped into the world of Facebook ads. I learned about it, lost a lot of money, thousands of dollars. But I guess it's not a total loss because I learned the platform, right? Then I started advertising my product, and people from all over the world just kept buying it and buying it and buying it, and that's when I hit my first big challenge, which was end of last year at the peak of COVID. My manufacturing facility basically shut down, and I had 60 something thousand dollars worth of inventory to produce. And so I had to shut down my ads and basically wait until I could fulfill those past orders. It was a pretty stressful time, but just recently, just a few months ago, end of August, I believe, I finally caught up to all my orders, and I have a new armored hoodie now. I actually have 3 new armored hoodies that I'm advertising, and yeah, like that's where I'm at now. I've basically taken this from an idea in my head to a global motorcycle gear brand, and it's only up from here.
No, that's an amazing story. And before 2020, you knew nothing about e-commerce, Facebook ads, marketing, nothing, right? Like, how did you
I
acquire?
had some experience drop shipping, but I could never become profitable with it. But like,
So, like, when
I
did you start experimenting with these little side hustles then? Because I thought you started in 2020 during the lockdowns, but I guess it was before that.
I started this brand during the lockdown, yes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
before
But
that, like I've always had something going for as long as I can remember. Like I used to have like a 3D printing service, and then I used to make little motorcycle camera or GoPro mounts for motorcycles with my 3D printer. Um, lemonade stands. I've done photography for the longest time. So I always had a side hustle. Facebook ads specifically, I started probably around 2019. That's when I started drop shipping. That's when I started learning about Facebook ads. And but like I said, I could never become profitable with that. And I lost a
okay.
lot of money doing that. It wasn't until mid 2021 that I finally started to see some profit with Facebook ads.
Yeah, no, I think that is part of your story that I didn't know about, that you actually had. This is not your first business, because I thought you hit it off right away with your first business. But I think it actually sends a better message that, you know what, like, you got to keep trying, and you may try several things that sort of don't work out. But if you don't give up and you keep executing, eventually you will hit something that takes off, which it did for you. So great. I think, yeah, no, that's a great share. And any like, top 2 or 3 takeaways that you would want to share with the audience, either someone who's completely new to the world of business and they're thinking about what to do next, or somebody who's maybe in that early stage of like ideating and is not sure what the next steps are. Like, what would you say the top 2 or 3 things?
By nature, I'm the type of person, I guess, that you start something, you're excited about it in the beginning, and then you hit your first hurdle, and by nature, I'm the type of person that would quit. So when I started Fire Moto, I told myself that my one rule with this is that I will not quit, no matter how hard this gets, no matter how much debt I'm in, no matter if nobody buys my product. I will just keep going. As long as I don't quit, this is going to work out. And so far it has. So my one piece of advice is every problem has a solution. Don't quit. Take a break if you need to, but take a step back, reevaluate, and then get back at it.
No, that's solid advice, and I think it applies to a lot of things in life, not just business. Anything that's like more tactical, hands-on, kind of like, when it comes to e-commerce or like online. Any like big takeaways?
Big takeaways. Your product has to be good, of course, but it doesn't matter as much as your marketing does. If there's one part of your business that you shouldn't outsource, it is your marketing, your social media. In my opinion, I would call that the tires of your business, where the rubber meets the road. That's where the business owner makes first contact with your potential customers. And I don't think you should ever outsource that. Or if you do later on, I think you should, find someone who you really, really trust with that. But I personally would outsource a lot of things when it comes to my business, but marketing and social media is something I would never ever outsource.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think it does make sense. I would say in most cases, at least like you said initially, when you're establishing your brand voice and how you interact with your customers, and, you're experimenting a lot, and eventually going to find something that resonates, and that's what you want people to see, and then potentially you can turn it into a playbook and train somebody to do it for you. But very like if you have like zero social media presence, zero marketing, and then you're like want just somebody to take care of the problem, it may or may not work out in your favor. So yeah, I guess I would tend to agree in many cases. But all right, well, thank you. Good to have you here, and I hope this short story inspired folks who are watching us or those who are going to watch the replay. And Rishi is also in the group, so should be available to get in touch with. And yeah, let's hang out. And if you stay until the end, till Q&A, I'm sure folks will want to ask you questions. But yeah, thanks, man.
Awesome.
Okay, well, there you go. So I'm glad we were able to get Rishi on stage to share his story, and I hope it gave you some ideas and inspiration of what is possible. I love the fact that, during the lockdown, when a lot of people were down on themselves, he actually found a productive outlet, and that jettisoned his business into where it is now. So that's awesome. Okay, so cool. We've got a little bit of a intro, and now let's get into the final day 5 command and signals. I mean, command and signals is probably going to be half of the presentation. The first half, I want to talk about scaling up. So, for the first 4 days, we were kind of talking about your mission, and then getting some ideas on paper, and then getting some initial start and some of the tools to do that. Today, I wanted to speak a little bit more about, once you have something, what do you do next? Like, how do you scale it and grow it? So a recap, once again, there's only 3 ways to grow a business, and it's to get more customers, get them to buy more from you, or to get them to come back more often. Ideally, you want to have all 3 working together. And we also covered yesterday the math of what it takes to have a $1 million in revenue. There's multiple ways to do that, and the homework assignment was specifically designed to get your brain thinking in that mode of, what is the number that I need to make in order to achieve my goals, and what would it take in terms of the amount of sales, the price that I'm going to charge for my product or service, and also how many people in total I would need to touch in order to get enough people interested in it and then transacting with me. So an example for a physical product brand could be that, you have, 3 or 4 products, about $30 each, so selling, 20 to 30 units per day. That could be $1 million business for you. So how do you get people to buy more from you? Again, sales is simply solving problems for people and adding value to their lives. In the beginning, typically you just start by solving one problem for one customer avatar, and you just do that enough times to get going. But then to scale up, you must keep solving problems. Like, what else are they struggling with? What other dreams and aspirations do they have that I can help them with? I am stealing this quote from someone, but like, you must be like a detective looking for problems to solve. And if you remember day 1, there's actually is a friend of mine who is an Australian police detective who says that was one of the keys to his successes. He was very good at looking for problems and interviewing people. So the best place to find the problems to solve for your people is by spending time with your people inside your communities, and then writing surveys and things like that, which we discussed in day 3, execution. And another very important exercise I keep harping on is the value ladder, which, like, once somebody gets in your door, how do they go up the stairs? Like, once they get a little taste of what you have to offer, naturally some of those people will want more from you. Like, what else does this person have that can help me? And then you may have some sort of premium services, and you can keep adding them as you go along. Be obsessed about solving problems for the customers. So if you saw before we started this week, I posted a case study on, I think only 3 people commented that they wanted, but essentially we developed $1 million new version of an existing product based on customer feedback from Facebook comments. Like, we were selling this thing, and half of the comments was like, when are you guys going to make this small enough to fit into this, particular system? And nobody at the time stepped up. So took us 9 months of back and forth with different manufacturers, but we did it. We made a version that was small enough to go, fit that particular system that these customers were having problems with. And that resulted in an additional 7 figures in sales, which is, basically finding money in your own backyard. Isn't that great? And all it was is just paying attention to what the customers were saying. If you don't have enough feedback from your own customers, or if you're starting out, we covered this, I think, yesterday or day 3 again, is you can read reviews from the competition and see where they fall short, and also what people really like. So in case of Amazon, you look at 5 stars and 1-star reviews. And then there's free tools called the Amazon Word Cloud. Like, you can just paste all of those comments, and then you'll see what words stand out when people talk about such product versus the other product. So that's what Moise Ali, the guy I quoted yesterday, who sold his deodorant for 100 million to Unilever, that's how they found a niche at the time in the deodorant market, is by saying, like, okay, what people are saying about this brand, that brand. Oh, this is too strong. This is too smelly. This is too much chemicals. And then they found something to address that. So it's a very powerful tool, and it's really easy to do. And I already mentioned this book called Ask. It's basically a scientific method to ask people exactly what kind of problems they're facing and what kind of things can help them with those problems. And most business models, almost any of them, with this very little exceptions, is when you scale up, you will not be able to do it alone. You will have to get help, and you will need people. So we touched a little bit on that yesterday with some of the resources where you can hire remote teams and find good people. And also I posted a bonus training. It's a 30-minute video about, how, we manage that, some of the tools for remote teams. But, that's something I really recommend. And we also touched on becoming a continuous learner. Like, somebody asked me during Q&A yesterday, is like, weren't you in infantry? Like, how did you learn sales and marketing? Well, it was a lot of self-education, let's just say. So a few thoughts on that. So you may or may not have heard a phrase that average CEO reads 60 books a year. Well, I mean, maybe that's great if you're a Fortune 500 CEO, and when you're starting out, you probably don't have time because you're wearing all the hats in the business. So I think, you can adopt the case of just-in-time learning. So, like, you're facing a particular problem, you go and find a book or a resource that helps you solve that particular problem. And then you apply that knowledge, the problem is solved. Now you get to the next level and you get another problem, you find information that helps you solve that problem. I think that's a better way than just like arbitrarily read lots of books, hoping you will get random ideas here and there. Also, it's a good way not to get overwhelmed, saying, oh my God, I need to know all of these things to start. No, you don't. And a lot of people get into this paralysis by analysis where they think they need more information in order to start. Like, I was at an event in 2018 that a local pretty famous marketer in Toronto put on. And I ended up at the table where there was this guy sitting next to me and kind of asked me, like, what do you do? And I tell him what I do. And I'm like, what do you do? He's like, well, I'm waiting for this speaker who organized the event to release his next course. And he also mentioned to me that he owns all of the courses that this guy released in the last 10 years. And I asked him, like, did you ever start any business? He's like, no, I'm waiting for the next course. I'm like, what do you mean? Tony Robbins says that most of the time it's not that you don't know what you do, is you don't do what you already know. And I think that 80% of the time that's the truth. You may question, why is there a Leo DiCaprio film poster here? Is because Catch Me If You Can, that movie is based on a real character who was like a con man in the US in the 60s. But one of the stories about him is that he successfully taught I think a philosophy class or something at a university. And then when at the end of his career, the FBI caught him and they were asking him, well, how did you pull that off? Like, you're totally not qualified. He's like, I just read the textbook one chapter ahead. So that's what kind of just-in-time learning is all about, is you just need to know enough to go to the next step. And I think Nelson Mandela said, like, you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. And that, I think, sums it up beautifully. You guys like this so far? If you do, drop some comments in the Facebook comments or here in the chat, see if this is useful. But the next point about scaling up with people is a lot of questions that come up, especially with new entrepreneurs, like, I need a partner. I'm looking for a partner. And then the big question is, why do you want a partner? Like, you need to remember the book, Start With Why. I think that applies to a lot of places in life and business. But essentially, I think, and I heard it from somebody else, a lot of people are just scared to go at it alone. It's just like in the military, you always had a fire team partner or battle buddy, whatever you call them. And there's a reason for it. But, there's a time and a place for a partnership. So I have attempted partnership twice, and both times it did not work out for me. And, I'm not saying that it's going to be a complete no-no going forward, but I think you just need to approach partnerships with a strong why and also a way to merit it. So again, I like to cite this guy who's very intelligent, Alex Hormozy. He made a tweet that I think can tell you much better than I can how to have a terrible partnership. So you got to find someone who knows the same stuff as you do, has no more money than you or no money at all, and has no more time than you or no time at all. Also, you don't want the same thing. You have different goals, you have different values of what hard work is, and a different work lifestyle and ethic, right? So this is how you have a terrible partnership. So you have very disproportionate inputs in terms of knowledge, time, and money, unless, of course, the partner shares are not equal or proportionate to their inputs. Different expectations, having no agreements. I mean, it's like a lot of these things are done on handshake. Both of my partnerships were done on the handshake, and then at the end, like, you have nothing on paper, no roles and responsibilities, who's doing what, and it's just a shit show. And of course, being misaligned in the main three things, which is like mission, value, and vision. Somebody thinks we need to go this way. Somebody else thinks, no, we got to go that way. Like, that's a sure way to nowhere. And, having different lifestyles. Like, maybe one person is a workaholic who works 16 hours a day, and another has 7 children and, has no time. Very different. So those are just thoughts on partnerships. That you need to consider as to, why do I want a partner? Am I just scared, or do I have a legitimate reason for it? Being time, money, knowledge, or skill. So what's a good partnership? So there's a famous Silicon Valley accelerator called Y Combinator. So again, they think, it's their opinion, but of all the startups that they have seen succeed in tech, at least in Silicon Valley, they said that typically it's a startup with 3 co-founders that has the best chances of success. And they have to be, one is the visionary and the business guy or girl, one is the operations person, and the third one is the techie. And you can kind of see like CEO, COO, CTO. So that tends to work well in tech in Silicon Valley. There's a book I just recently finished reading called Rocket Fuel. It basically says there's two entrepreneurial types, personality-wise. There's a visionary, it's kind of the person with all the crazy ideas, and then there's they call it the integrator, this operations person that says, okay, this is how we're going to do the crazy ideas, and by the way, we're not doing 9 of these ideas, we're only going to do 1. I think the military has figured it out a long time ago, because we have the officer NCO command team, right? Like we have the platoon commander, platoon 2IC. We have the section commander, section 2IC, although they're both NCOs technically, but you have the CO and RSM. You get the idea. And in the Navy, they have a triad. They have the captain, and then the chief, and I think the third person. Forgive me, but yeah. So I actually found myself kind of, because I spent 22 years as a 2IC, essentially, I think I am conditioned to do a lot of integrator type work. But because I'm the CEO in my business, I had to learn how to be a visionary. And I am still not decided whether I'm a visionary with the skills of an integrator, or I'm actually an integrator with some adopted skills of a visionary. That's just kind of like some of the struggles that I'm currently facing, is where do I fall in that place? So if you find yourself that, you're going a million miles a minute, you have 10 business ideas a day, you have no time to execute them all, maybe it's a good idea for you to partner up with like a 2IC, a COO, who's like a really calm, cool, collected operations person that can help you make sense all of it, and vice versa. If you kind of don't have a lot of cool business ideas, but you're really good at executing, maybe you attach yourself to a crazy entrepreneur like Elon Musk and just help them execute well, knowing what you know. So that's another thing. Does this make sense so far? Does it ring any bells? Like, anybody has any thoughts on this? Drop it in the chat or Facebook comments. But I think us coming from the military system, where this is typically always in place, I think it can help tremendously in terms of a partnership or selecting a good one. It can also probably hurt a little bit when you actually are solo, because you're always accustomed to having that 2IC, or to having that officer giving you orders, and now you're the one creating orders for yourself. So okay, so more thoughts on scaling up with people. There's I guess it ties into the discussion earlier on, in terms of like, do you want to do your own marketing? Do you outsource it? So in general, it's typically in the beginning where you're the one doing everything, because either you don't have the funds, the resources, or the mindset to do it any other way. And oftentimes people don't hire or delegate because they're afraid that only they can do it as well as they can, and many other objections. Most of the time they're not true, actually. But essentially, if you look at this cartoon, if you have a problem and you need to figure out how to solve it, oftentimes you think it's so complicated to solve it that it's going to take you such a long time to learn how to solve the problem that you never end up moving. Or you actually do go and spend the time to learn how to solve it so long that it takes forever. What's a shortcut is find somebody who knows how to do it and get them to do it. I mean, yes, you either need to be able to afford them or figure out a way to have a win-win to make them want to do it for you, but it's a much faster and better way to solve problems. And there's this book called Who Not How that teaches you that thought process. And in that book, there's an example of this guy who just sold his company for like $50 million. He's like set for life. Then he sees a problem on the roof with his air conditioning or antenna or something. He decides he's going to save $300 and not call a professional and fix it himself. Gets on a step ladder, forgets the safety, falls off the ladder, breaks his back, smashes his head, almost dies, and like, why did I do that to myself? So extreme example, but basically that's what the authors want us to know. And then the other book here called Who, it's essentially a playbook for interviewing and selecting people, because that's also an art in itself. And it was recommended to me by the guy who owns Arrowhead Coffee also. So he says that that's his table book at all times, because he's always interviewing, even when he's not looking for people and there's no vacancies. If there's a good person, somebody says that need to talk to, they would interview him and keep them in their Rolodex for later. Yeah, at the end of the day, you got to find good team members and treat them well. Got to look for people who are amazing at what they do. Ideally, like a lot of times when you're hiring at first, especially, you're just putting butts into seats on the bus, and then oftentimes they're either in the wrong seat or they're just not supposed to be on that bus. Another question is, who do you hire first? Is it your weakest points or your strength? It depends. I think it is probably better to hire your weaknesses out first, or like stuff that you hate to do or stuff that you don't know how to do. And then once you figure out the SOP for what you do really, really good, then you can hire out your strength and then you force multiply. So let's say if you're really good on the phone with sales, like somebody was yesterday, and how do you multiply that? You just need more badass salespeople on the phone. Eventually, you're going to tap out of sales you can do yourself. So you're going to be forced to hire somebody to do it for you. It's a difficult one. I mean, I personally sometimes struggled with it because of like a shallow candidate pool, or I didn't cast a wide enough net. But ideally, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Like that's kind of your gut feel. Like if you're on the fence about the candidate, they're kind of shitty, but maybe they'll turn around. Usually it's a bad sign. And tying in with that, the rule of thumb is to hire slow and fire fast. And that's another thing that I heard is people quit first and then they leave. So first they'll mentally check out and they'll start looking, but they will still be collecting a paycheck and just like dragging their feet. And then they will leave. So that's another caveat. So that's why you want to hire slow, fire fast. Does this make sense, guys? Is any of this useful, or is it just like way too out there? Let me know. Let me know in the comments on Facebook or in Zoom chat. Just show me that you're alive, that I didn't bore you to death. I hope like I'm not going to embarrass Rishi, but like when I was working with him, he had a lot of resistance about hiring his first person to even help with fulfilling orders. And like he said today that marketing and sales is the most important thing for him right now. And he was spending so much time just like packaging up his orders in his facility. I'm like, look, man, like why don't you get some help with that? And then focus all of your attention on the sales and marketing. And I think he did it, and then that really, really worked out, right? And Rishi says, yeah, definitely some useful philosophies on hiring people that I will be applying to my business. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Another thing about teams is in the civilian workplace, I realized quite late that employees are not troops. And I learned it the hard way, and I couldn't figure out like why I'm having such a hard time. Is that especially if you don't have that strong mission that we talked about on day 2 that everybody can get behind, then it's even more difficult, because now they don't really have that unifying mission to rally behind, which we all do in the military. In the military, that somebody joined usually because they had aspirations to serve their country and all of that. In the civilian workplace, it's not often the case, right? So then these 2 books, I'm sure 99% of you have heard of them, but they're great. I probably need to reread them again and again at some point, but they're like the best, in my opinion, leadership books that you can read. And by the way, Echelon Front, they have these monthly Zoom calls where they're free for veterans and first responders. As soon as you get on their mailing list, you're going to get a notification. I jumped on a few of those calls once in a while. It's literally Jocko and Leaf and or other people from Echelon Front. Literally, they have a couple of hundred cops and firefighters and military just like there, and they coach them live. It's actually a great resource. I highly recommend if you're interested in that, get on those calls. It will blow your mind. So key roles again for, let's say, a internet business or e-commerce business, but you want to have somebody who's like good with creatives or designer. Then you probably somebody who's good at developing web pages and websites. You probably need an assistant, just like general, like research, calling people, DMing people, managing email, just to save you time. You need somebody to manage the ads. You need to have your books in order, accounting. Copywriting is highly recommended. I mean, now we can we can go into the rabbit hole of AI copywriting, which just a few months ago came out of nowhere, and now it's actually pretty good, and it's really affordable. You do need amazing customer service, especially in the e-commerce world or in an agency. You need, somebody who's a good account manager. Ideally, you need somebody to manage operations. Remember that duality of CEO, COO. Sometimes you can combine those qualities, but ideally, and as we know from the military, there's always that 2IC person that's very important. And then, especially now in 2022 and 2023, video is becoming crazy popular. And I think I told you that in day one that the guy that I met that owns like the biggest car wrapping franchise in Canada, and he has new locations he's opening up in the US. He has a full-time video person following him around, like literally documenting their work, and they put it on YouTube and TikTok and social media, and that is the biggest source of leads for his car business, right? So if you can do that, then at least have maybe like a freelance video editor that can help you with some of the content that you shoot yourself using those selfie videos that we also discussed this week. But I think these are key roles, and once again, they could be in-house, and some of this may be you, but I know it's going to come up during Q&A. A lot of this can be either hired in-house, delegated, or outsourced to a trusted third party, such as an agency. Another good book for scaling up once you get a team in place is actually literally called Scaling Up. In two sentences, it's all about setting a Rockefeller habits of setting the goals and then like having a series of meetings to create accountability and spreading the information. So it's very much like the military. They have a cadence of meetings, like they have a monthly, weekly, and daily meetings, and then they have an AR usually at the end of the week or end of the month to kind of course adjust. And I think that's a really great tool. So in my business, we ended up, because we're all virtual, going to like a virtual daily stand-up. It's literally like a Slack channel with a bot that every day prompts the team with 3 questions, like, what did you accomplish yesterday? What are your top priorities for today? And where are you stuck that the team can help you with? Like, simple as that, but it keeps everybody on the same page, keep everybody on their toes, and you don't feel like you're alone working in isolation. So now I'm gonna like put everything, flip it on its side, and blow your mind. So, and I only added the slide because somebody in the I think they commented on one of the ads for the challenge about why don't you teach veterans about acquiring businesses? And I thought that why not? So sometimes it makes a lot more sense to buy an established business rather than build. And before you say, oh no, it's impossible, it actually is pretty realistic, even if you don't have a lot of money. There's strategies where you can do raise capital or have seller financing or have other means of achieving it. But essentially, yeah, you can do it on your own. You can do it as part of a syndicate where you raise capital or pool money together, or there's something called search funds where they take care of the fundraising, and they're looking for sharp people who are like ex-military or ex-executives to find a company, find them the deal. They will coach you and assist you. They will actually pay you a salary for 2 or 3 years while you find the company. And then once you finish the acquisition process, you become the CEO, and your goal is to basically like, I don't know, like 2x, 3x, whatever, and you get a percentage of equity as well in the deal. So I think that's a really interesting way for becoming a CEO of a business, and not 100% owner, but a partial owner. But yeah, don't discount acquisitions. And if you're interested in that route, there's 2 people you should follow. One is this guy Walker Diebel. You can get his book and read about it, or this lady Cody Sanchez. And if you notice who she's married to, he wears a little trident on his chest. So that's the military community is very near and dear to that team. So definitely they help out vets a lot. And that's what I recommend doing if you're interested in the acquisition route. My personal story is that I did acquire a small supplement company in 2020. I think I did mention it in one of the days earlier. Again, it was 2 partners who couldn't agree on a lot of those things that I covered several slides earlier. They're like, I'm doing all the work. No, I'm doing all the work. Blah, blah, blah. They couldn't, had a huge disagreement, decided to sell. Right. So I actually went through the entire process, doing due diligence with lawyers and cross-border transaction, Canadian lawyer, US lawyer, all of that, negotiations. It was actually pretty interesting. So I can probably give you some tips if you are so inclined. So anybody here, by the way, considered buying a company or acquiring a company? Let me know in the comments if you ever thought of that. I guess maybe not, but again, oftentimes, like until you join an event like this or you talk to somebody, you will not even consider, because you think it is out of reach when it's actually not. So let's move on. Okay, so we've covered the scaling up portion of scaling up with your products, scaling up with your people, and scaling up potentially with just acquiring assets or helping other people acquire assets for them. But now we're going to talk about just wrapping it all up. So one big thing is that I want you guys to walk away with from this week is you got to take massive action. Whatever you do, whatever you decide to do, but you got to execute. And I think I cited this quote a day or 2 ago, kind of butchering it, but basically, first of all, I never worry about action, but only inaction. Like that's a cool quote in itself. But like the long quote is that there comes a special moment in everyone's life, a moment for which that person was born. The special opportunity, when he seizes it, will fulfill his mission, a mission for which he is uniquely qualified. In that moment, he will find greatness. It is his finest hour. What is missing from the screen is that the second part, that what if when that opportunity comes, they're unprepared? Isn't that like the biggest shame? So take action. Another very important thing is you're not alone. Like that's another thing that they say entrepreneurship is the loneliest profession in the world, and it doesn't have to be. Same thing, like especially transitioning veterans, when you kind of lose that team, your regiment, your unit, your team, whatever you were, the crew, it probably feels very empty and lonely. And you got to surround yourself with people who lift you up, not bring you down. So sometimes that's not your family, sometimes that's not your friends, sometimes it's other people. And I don't mean like your drinking buddies, sitting in a bar, dive bar, talking about the good old days 10 years ago. No, like that's still not moving you forward. Like you got to have people around you who are making shit happen, who are talking about the future, who have big visions, and they pull you up. There's a couple of quotes here from Oprah and if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. But this is why I created this group. Partially is because I want to create a place where we can lift each other up. So take part in the community. Don't be shy. Like, I know a lot of people are still like emailing me privately, DMing me privately. I'm cool with that, but keep in mind that you're kind of robbing other people from the opportunity to learn when you do that. There's no shame in asking questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question, at least in my group. So this is for you, like, use it to leverage each other's experience. There's almost 500 people in the group. I personally know several who are very accomplished entrepreneurs, and there's some folks there from the US that I know that are crazy successful, and we're going to work on bringing more people. So support each other, learn from each other. And yeah, the Enlisted2Entrepreneur group will forever be open and free. We're not shutting it down after this challenge. We kept it open since last year. I was adding content when I could, and some people as well. So this year we have more people, so it should grow. There's a comments, and Mark's dad always said you'll only be successful as your 5 closest friends, and surround yourself with like-minded people. It's very hard to disagree. It's been proven again and again and again. So yeah, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So choose wisely. Again, let me ask you some questions. Do you feel like what you learn here can help you get ahead? Are you going to be serious, or are you just curious? Oh, it was cool information. Now let me get back to what I was doing. And would you like my help with implementing any of this? If yes, just a reminder, I did open my crazy Black Friday special. Is you can work with me in a group setting exclusively. And my fucking slides work. Here's the URL. It's can.enlisted2entrepreneur.com. Check it out. It's a veteran-only mastermind group, inner circle for those who are serious and not curious, who really want to go to the next level. I can help you in an intimate setting. So there's that. And if that is not the right move for you right now, or you already are in business and you're doing well, remember, I have a marketing agency and consultancy, so I definitely would love to help you out with your ads and conversion rate optimization and other things. So that's another way how we can work together. And with that, we are at the end of day 5. Today we went through command and signals, how to scale with products, people, and potentially leveraging acquisitions. And then if there's enough demand in the group, I can do a bonus session tomorrow during the day. It could be an AMA, ask me anything, or we could make it about a special topic. But anyways, this is your chance to get another hour or 2 with me tomorrow. If you're up for that, if there's enough demand, drop it in the comments, drop it in the chat, or later in the group, post it. We can make it happen. If there's enough people to do that, we're going to put a special encore on Saturday. I understand some people couldn't also make it throughout the week. So if you know several buddies who want to go through it, who want to jump on a call tomorrow, let me know in the group later. So before, let's say, noon tomorrow, Eastern time. If we get enough people, we're going to make a bonus session happen. And I might do it just for shits and giggles anyways, but there you go. So Mark, you want to talk Tuesday? So okay, I can DM me. I can send you a calendar link so you can book a Zoom call to talk about some of the agency stuff that we do. And here's a summary of what we covered this week and the 5 days that we were here, and the pre-training. We've got free training from C4L Apparel, talking about the story of starting an apparel brand for veterans. And I think that was a beautiful story with a lot of little lessons. If you really pay attention closely to what Nicholas was saying, then we started with Dave Morrow on day one, talking about the veteran renaissance and how, we veterans are uniquely qualified for being in business, and we have skills that we possess without realizing it can help us get successful. And then we covered the online stuff like e-commerce, we covered agency, affiliate marketing, just some of the opportunities that are out there. Day two, we talked about developing your mission and purpose and really thinking about your why. And then from that, it will flow into who you're going to serve. And then from that, your products and services are going to flow, that kind of stuff. Day three was the longest day of the week. We covered a lot of ground, but it was basically the framework for launching and scaling and growing businesses, fundamental steps, how to launch a business, how to grow a business. Yesterday, day four, we covered service and support, tools, skills, teams, financing, bootstrapping, legal structure. Today, we covered command and signals, so how to and where get people for your team, how to lead them, and then some of the do's and don'ts of partnerships and other business decisions that you're going to make. And finally, we talked about scaling and how to scale with products, people, and other resources. So that's a lot of content. And thank you. Q&A time. I do have a hard stop in probably 20 minutes because I have to go pick up my children. And I got driving duty today. But yeah, now's your time. Homework assignment will be posted immediately after. But let's get into some questions. So there's a couple of questions. Alan, you were talking about marketing to hire food chain establishments for guided outings. How do we get there? Business to business booking. How do I change the who? Do I dig deeper? So I think there's two different questions in it. How do you change the who? I think maybe dig deeper, or maybe take a couple of steps back and look at who else is the tribe that you want to serve. But I think those exercises, by going through the homework, will help you identify, first of all, some of your own passions and interests and things you feel strongly about, but also yeah, like I designed the homework with a purpose, so go through it. But essentially, yeah, if your who is too vague, it's like, oh, it's everyone who wants to be healthy. That's probably too vague enough, too broad in the beginning. So you want to dig deeper and figure out, like, maybe it's like, single moms with certain problem, because essentially you're going to need to find a problem that somebody has. So second part of the question is the business model. So from what I gather, Alan wants to really serve veterans in the outdoor setting. The problem is that he doesn't want to charge them, or either not charge them at all, or charge them like what's like the minimum fee to kind of make it almost like zero profit. I think it's going to be very hard to operate like that. So my suggestion was to use the Tom's Shoes model or the Warby Parker model, where like buy one pair of glasses, we give one for free to kids in Africa. Buy one pair of shoes, we give one free for people who can't afford shoes in India. People love that kind of like model, because they are too lazy or too busy to donate to charity actively. But here, like, I have to buy shoes anyway, so now I'm doing a good deed. So if you market to affluent outdoors people, individuals, or organizations for a team building exercise or something like that, and you tell them this, by the way, also supports veterans, I mean, I think it's a much easier sell, and you're going to be a lot more abundance in your business than when you're just trying to, like, survive by the skin of your teeth by trying to get like the cheapest thing, the lowest cost thing available just for veterans. Also, when you charge premium prices to these premium clients, you're gonna have more resources to operate from. You're gonna have a really, really cool experience even for the veterans. So I think that's why I recommend that model. How do you do that? Again, go back to the playbook we discussed in day 3 and the bonus training on networking. But essentially, you're gonna have to create some results for somebody for free or at zero profit initially, just to get them to wow them with, oh my God, the experience was so amazing. I'm going to tell 3 friends about it. I'm going to give you a really great review. You do a few of those, you're going to become known for that. And then you can say, okay, you know what, like, Mr. B2B client, a month ago, another organization that's really famous in our town did their weekend getaway team building exercise for all the executive teams, and they come back and look what they said. Boom, 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 boom. And then, would you like the same or better for your team? Who would say no to that, right? Like, so I think that's at a very high level how I would approach that the problem. And of course, I would say put out content. Like another recommendation that you probably caught throughout this whole week is that you gotta start to put out content. You're gonna have to stop being shy or think that people will find you. Like, you can create educational content about like what's the best equipment for a fishing trip. What do you bring on a hike in our area? Like, even stuff like that. Make it fun, make it interesting, make it humorous, and people will be likely to share and also trust you. Like, oh, do I go with this outfitter that has a website from 2007 that just has a link to book, or do I go with this guy who has like a YouTube channel and he's documenting all of the trips, and oh, they're smiling faces, oh, these people look like they have a good time. I think the answer is obvious. Okay, so I think Alan gave me 2 thumbs up. I may have overloaded him with information, but no, thank you. Another great day full of info and comment. Thanks. Okay, any more questions for today? Got 1 taker for AMA tomorrow. Probably gonna need more than 1, to be honest, but we'll see about that. Anything else for today? Any other questions? I know there was a question earlier from Mark that he wanted to talk about. Does it make sense to outsource your advertising or not? And then Rishi said that he would never do it. I would say it depends. So I don't know, Mark, are you here? Do you want to address that now, or did you get enough in the presentation?
Oh, I'm here. Sure, let's address that if we could.
So my opinion on this subject is kind of along the lines of what I said earlier today and what I said, I think, on day 1 or day 2, that you have to know enough to be dangerous, A, and B, you have to kind of like find your voice for your brand that maybe a very skilled agency can help you find, right? But no one's going to do it for you, if you know what I mean. So to give you an example, Shopify, right? Everybody knows Shopify. The guy who started it, he's actually an engineer. He's not like a business guy. Early on, he was he joined an incubator, and there was a bunch of advisors. One of the early investors and advisors is Tim Ferriss, the guy who I cited in I believe day 3. And then this founder of Shopify at the time is like, no, I'm not a business guy. I need to find a CEO to run it. And then Tim Ferriss pulls him aside and says, no one's going to give a shit about your business as much as you do. And that's why that guy stayed on as CEO for another, I don't know how many years. I think now he has a CEO, but like they're at a different game level now. I think early on, when you are the business, you are the brand, I think it's important for you to do it, just to kind of find your voice and find what works, what resonates with your audience. Maybe you will need some kind of coaching and mentoring from professionals to make sure you don't like spin your wheels and lose a bunch of money. But I think it's important. Like, a lot of business owners think, I'm just gonna I'll make it somebody else's problem. I'm gonna make this problem marketing agency's problem. The agency doesn't know your business. Like, they will never, like, in all honesty, I will never know your business as well as you do, because I don't talk to the customers. You know what I mean?
They're
So,
never as invested in it as I will be. So
sorry, what's that?
they're never as invested in it as I will be.
I mean, so like my agency works on performance, right? So obviously there's a certain threshold, but essentially like I charge a percentage of profits that I generate. I don't charge a flat fee regardless of whether I'm successful or not. Like that's not how I operate. A lot of agencies, they just charge you a flat retainer and it doesn't matter if you lose money or you make money, you still owe them. So there's that, like the different incentivization model. So sometimes, again, like would I pick up a unproven client with like, unproven product, and maybe yes, maybe no, depending on where the agency is at their cycle. But yeah, I would say to sum up is maybe get some help and guidance from a professional, but I think early steps you still got to do yourself, or at least have
See, that's where I'm kind of on the
Yeah.
fence because, and to clarify, first off, everything over these 5 days has been phenomenal and very informative. But I'm in a unique situation where I'm marketing myself because I'm a realtor.
yes.
So I'm not marketing a product or any other kind of service. I'm literally marketing myself to cater to military members that are going through the relocation. So my marketing needs are going to be a lot different than somebody else, and my time is much more valuable.
Yeah,
actually,
well,
that's not fair to
I
say
see what you
that-
say. I mean, a lot of people think they're a unique snowflake and their situation is unique. I promise you, it's not. It's maybe more unique than regular run-of-the-mill campaign. But essentially, I think a lot of what you are going to be doing initially is just like your own legwork. Like you're still going through your network, like handing out flyers at base or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like to get the initial ball rolling, and then like I don't know, how do you advertise on Facebook ads targeting people who are military who are about to relocate? It's very hard to catch them in that moment. I think if you position yourself as the expert, for example, you start a YouTube channel saying like how to best relocate for a Canadian Forces member in Canada, just like tips and tricks, and like share that. People will share around. So when somebody has to move, they're like, oh, I remember Mark had a video that I saw that was shared in that whatever Facebook group that I'm a member of. Or like a buddy of mine told me that. You're going to play the long game, but I think that's the kind of marketing for you, for your who, is what I would at a high level recommend. I don't think that like paid ads is going to be for such a specific customer would be the right thing for you right now.
But it's not just the military market that I'm dealing with. If I only rely on military moves for my business, I'll be broke. Right? That's a 2-month window for relocation where people are coming out on their HHTs, and I know that because I've done it more than enough times.
It's just for your area, or can you expand to other provinces and towns and bases?
So
No,
as a real estate agent, you're only licensed in the province that you're in. So
yeah, okay.
licensed in the province of Manitoba, so I can only sell and assist purchase in the province of Manitoba. So I'm going to focus on, because of my knowledge from the moves I've done OCAN several times, and moves within Canada. So for me, knowing those ins and outs with BGRS, which a lot of people don't, I need to market that skill, that knowledge to the members, so they go, okay, well, this guy actually knows what the hell we deal with on a day-to-day. He understands. He's not going to be a pushy realtor who's just trying to make a dollar.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if your total addressable market is very small, I mean, it's still, you can make headways there to get some success stories, but then can you flip the model on the side and say, what if I position myself as the relocation specialist, period,
Yep.
in Winnipeg, and then you go into corporate relocations and like oil fields or whatever. Like, is there big businesses that relocate people all the time that you can cater that are like the military? And then you can say, look, I have this success with the army. Maybe I can do it for the oil field or for the whatever they do. Like if there's something. That's one way to slice the pie. Instead of, again, like, I do everything for everyone. Like I do commercial, I do plazas, I do fucking medical offices, I do single family, I do multifamily. Like maybe, and you know what, talk to successful real estate agents as well, like make friends with them and ask them how they did what they do, how did they become big. Like that's nothing. Like, each industry has its own kind of like playbook, and sometimes it's good to disrupt an industry by bringing tactics from another more young industry. So my buddy Jeff Weibo in London, he came back from tour. He was a close protection guy. He knew nothing, started a YouTube channel, and then now he's like #2 in London. So you want me to get you in touch with him and ask him how he did it?
That would be awesome.
You know what I mean? Like, why not? I'm pretty sure he can. And he has like a YouTube course too. Like you can probably just watch his shit for free before even talking to him and learn a lot. I think so. Jeff Weibo, check him out. But,
Jeff Weibo,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. If you want, I posted his
Weibo, okay.
thing on day one, but yeah, that's a guy that you can maybe reach out and say, hey, like, what would you do if I were you? And maybe Greg's full of shit. Maybe Jeff will sort you out the right way for your industry. But yeah, I mean, being the relocation specialist and then like taking the army, the oil fields, the whatever big corporate, I'm pretty sure it can keep you busy too. Just like thinking out loud.
Okay, I found him. I'm going to follow him and reach out to him.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with his public content. He's got a lot of it, but then if you can't find the answers you're looking for, I think if you reach out and say you're a vet, he'll probably reply. And if not, then tell me and I'll tell him to reply.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg. Hey, listen, before I jump out of here, you've done an amazing job in this event. Thank you so much. The people you brought on, great content. So keep it up.
Thank you. I hope it was valuable, and I hope you blow up your business 10x, and I hope you become a valued contributor in the group as well, and pass on the torch.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys. Anyone else has any Q&A? Okay. Well, give you another couple of minutes to think about it while I go through the homework assignments. So I'm not letting you off the hook just because it's the last day. So I want you to try the Amazon Word Cloud method to find strengths and weaknesses in existing or future products, either from your competitors or maybe even your own if you have enough reviews. We'll literally just like look for like free Word Cloud. That's going to be the tool to use, and then compile the reviews, the 5-star, 1-star of, or if you want to practice, just pick a product and go through the process so you understand. If it's a service, like maybe real estate, so maybe find like 5 real estate books on relocation and read the reviews of what kind of questions people have after reading the book. Like, oh, this book didn't really explain how to relocate. And then brainstorm ideas how you can use it to come up with a superior product or service. And then if you spend 5 minutes and write your AR points for this entire 5 days, I know there's some words that were said already and in the chat and the comments and live, and thank you for that. But just digest it and write it out. And if it's like something you want to share via DM or email, that's fine. But also let's make a thread in the group and everybody just puts their good points, bad points, so that next year when we do it even better. Do we keep it Canadian? Do we open it up to the Commonwealth? Do we open it up to all of NATO? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and just a reminder, the opportunity to work with me directly in a private setting is still open. Here's the URL. I'm gonna drop it in the comments. But yeah, any last minute questions or comments before we end? Okay, well, there's still a couple of prizes that we need to give away this week for homework. I know some people said that they will complete it when they have more time. So late submissions are cool. So make sure you do it. and submit it. Either the best way is video in the group, second best post in the group, third best privately to me, but either way, do it. And then there's a couple of more prizes that are available. And then yeah, stay active in the group, share your impressions and reviews of this event. And we want to get to 1,000 or more members and grow from there and make everybody successful. And have a great weekend. If there's enough demand for an AMA, ask me anything tomorrow. Let me know before 12 Eastern, and we're gonna make it happen. Rock and roll. Cheers, guys. Awesome job putting this together for everyone. And thank you. Awesome job for showing up all 5 days. It's I know it's a big ask, but you guys did it. So good for you. And just apply the same kind of commitment and drive to your business, and you are going to be successful. All right. Stop share and meeting. Take care, guys.